A year ago Igor and Vika got married after 2 years of serious dating. Throughout that time they never had a single major fight, no screaming matches or silent treatments lasting days. Sure, there were occasional arguments here and there, but nothing severe enough to leave them feeling bitter toward each other. Until one particular evening changed everything. Vika was working late on this day, having warned Igor first thing in the morning. She asked him to heat up dinner for her return because she hated snacking and eating out. Exhausted from work, she knew she'd come home famished. That's why yesterday she made food for 2 nights, so all he needed to do tonight was warm it up. "I'll be back in 40 minutes, she texted before descending into the metro, eagerly anticipating the comfort of their cozy apartment with hot food waiting for her. Alas, fate had different plans. When she arrived at their building, she couldn't get inside. The door was locked by an extra latch and the buzzer hadn't worked for over a month. Calling Igor's phone went unanswered too. Finally, frustrated beyond belief, she started banging on the door until 5 agonizing minutes later, Igor deigned to open it. "Igor, what gives?" Vika asked irritably yet calmly, unsure if something bad might have happened. But instead of answering, Igor silently waved his hand dismissively and turned away towards the kitchen. Confused, Vika slipped off her shoes and followed him only to stop short when she saw someone else sitting at the table, a guest. It was Gosha, Igor's older brother, who clearly had been there for some time judging by the dirty plate in front of him. "Hey," Gosha grunted in response to her greeting without looking up. Then Igor stepped between them, ushering Vika aside. "Look, here's the deal. Gosha's got problems. Not for female ears. You could just hang out in our room for now, okay? He'll head home soon," Igor explained. "What?" Vika crossed her arms defiantly. "I came straight from work. I'm hungry, exhausted. This is my house too. You need to grow up. This man has real issues. He's seeking support from his brother. And you're whining about yourself again." The tension rose as Vika felt anger bubbling within her. She stormed off to wait in the bedroom, scrolling through news feeds on her phone for almost another hour. Finally, Gosha left. Relieved, Vika rushed to the kitchen. What awaited her there was even more disappointing: dirty dishes scattered everywhere and an empty frying pan. Her carefully prepared meal was gone. Where did it go?" she stammered, dumbfounded. "That's your biggest concern right now? A guy's life is falling apart and you worry about your stupid meat dish?" Igor exploded. "What happened?" Vika's mind raced, imagining horrific scenarios involving Gosha's wife Oksana and daughter Milana. "Was it something terrible?" "It turns out she's not mine," Igor blurted out dramatically. He then recounted how Gosha adored his wife and longed for children. When little Milana was born 4 years earlier, he thought he'd died and gone to heaven. As she grew though, he began to notice striking differences. He didn't see any resemblance to himself whatsoever. On the contrary, she looked exactly like her mother and grandmother. Driven by suspicion, Gosha demanded answers. His wife filed for divorce immediately, took their child, moved in with her parents, and told Milana that Daddy didn't want anything to do with her anymore. Worse still, DNA tests confirmed that Gosha wasn't biologically related to his daughter. Now, Gosha wanted reconciliation but Oksana refused to talk to him. Little Milana also wouldn't speak to her father anymore. "You know, it's not a woman's fault alone," Vika interjected heatedly. "It's betrayal, plain and simple." This set Igor off. He berated her for being heartless and inconsiderate. Anger flared on both sides. Vika broke down sobbing while Igor tried to console her, apologized profusely for neglecting dinner, ordered takeout, and pleaded with her to relax. Later that night, lying together in bed, Igor attempted to explain things further. He spoke softly, embracing her gently. "Listen, we are very different. Men and women. We may both hate cheating, but the consequences vary drastically. If a husband strays, the worst-case scenario is hurt feelings. But if a wife does? Well, imagine discovering you've raised someone else's kid for 18 years. It's devastating. Gosha simply wanted confirmation. That's fair. Despite disagreeing inwardly, Vika nodded exhaustedly, already half asleep. Over the next few months, Vika tried talking sense into Oksana per Igor's request, urging her to forgive and understand. But Oksana remained steadfast in her refusal. Meanwhile, Vika herself started experiencing strange symptoms which led her to seek medical advice. The doctor stunned her with a diagnosis that pointed directly back to Igor. In tears, Vika confronted him, accusing him of infidelity during a drunken party with old friends. Though initially defensive, Igor eventually admitted to a momentary lapse of judgment. He knelt before her begging forgiveness, swearing it would never happen again. Touched by his remorse, Vika chose to believe him. The disease proved treatable, prompting Igor to become kinder, more attentive, cooking meals, buying flowers regularly, and planning trips to recreate their honeymoon experience. However, these plans were interrupted abruptly by court summons concerning paternity testing. His mistress had given birth despite promising not to keep the baby. Now their son required financial support via alimony payments. Unmatched categories of betrayal, huh? Vika laughed bitterly upon learning the truth. If only men could undergo some sort of test to prove loyalty. How ironic justice would be. Sorry, Igor, I've had enough. From now on, you're on your own. In every category.